Welcome everyone to Community Connects. My name is Menika Thuru. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the Community Engagement Librarian at the Anchorage Public Library, and I'm going to be the facilitator for the conversation this evening. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that I am calling in from the traditional lands of the Dena'ina. For thousands of years, the Dena'ina have been and continue to be the stewards of this land. It is with gratitude and respect that we recognize the contributions, innovations, and contemporary perspectives of the Upper Cook Inlet Dena'ina. I encourage you to let us know whose lands you are calling in from in the chat. Community Connects is a product of a coalition of community organizations, and they are the Alaska Humanities Forum, the Alaska Pacific University, the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce, the Alaska Black Caucus, the Anchorage Public Library, Keys to Life, the Municipality of Anchorage, the Alaska Native Village Corporation Association, and Coffee and Quack. So thank you so much to everyone who is here for taking time out of your day to be with us and to engage in conversation. This is the second in a series of 3 conversations around resilience in our community. Today, we are talking about resilience in our local LGBTQ plus communities. Our panelists are Dash, Cal Bacon, Laura Carpenter, Mahogany Magnetic, and James Terry. I'm going to ask the panelists some questions, and if you think of any questions that you'd like to share, just pop those in the chat, and if we have time, we'll get to those at the end. Great. Well, with that, I would love to get started. So for each of our panelists, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us what resilience means to you, and I'll just read off your names in alphabetical order just to keep us kind of going. So Dash, do you want to get started?
Yes, I can go ahead. So talofa and hi, my name is Dash. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently zooming in from Dena'ina lands. And what does resilient mean to me? Honestly, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but like myself, like I like self, what is that called? Like positive, like self-encouragement is a big thing for me. And like resilience is me. Like that's how I see or how I, explain resilience, because just from my personal experience of homelessness and being a part of the LGBTQ community and coming from a very family-oriented culture, like Samoan specifically, it was very difficult. So that has been a journey of 4 years and slowly getting better. But yeah, that's how I would that's how I see resilience. So.
Thanks, Dash. Cal, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi, my name is Cal Bacon, and I also live on Dena'ina lands, and my pronouns are he, him, his. Yeah, and thank you for hosting this, and it's a great topic of resilience. It's something we all need right now in these difficult times, right? But yeah, I was pondering that question, what it means to me, and I think like a lot of people's first instinct is to think of something like really strong, like a big rock or shield, like something that can bounce off, any attacks that come. But I realized to me, it's more like the ability to take in the hardship and then either like redirect it or like channel it into, something that's more positive. So being able to learn and grow basically from adversity, that's resilience to me.
Thanks, Cal. I'm keeping you on your toes because I didn't actually go in alphabetical order. James, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm James Terry. I use he, him pronouns. I am also on Dena'ina land. I am a hospital chaplain and also a board member with Choosing Our Roots, which is an organization that works with LGBTQ plus youth experiencing homelessness in Alaska. So those are some of the perspectives that I bring into this. And this has actually been really helpful for me this week to be thinking about what resilience means to me, partly because I have not felt very resilient this week. And so it's been a good thing to sort of reflect more on. And I really like what Cal was just saying, I think resilience is so often talked about as the ability to bounce back. That's kind of sort of a standard, like, short definition. But I feel like that's not all of it, because you don't just want to bounce back to what you were before the hard thing happened. You want to bounce forward to something new that is growthful and meaningful. And so that ability to not just bounce back, but to bounce forward. And I think a big part of that is in how we refuel and recharge ourselves. So it's not just about endurance, but about really like refueling while the thing is happening. And I want to, I think, say one more thing about this that I've been thinking about a lot, that I think we really often talk about resilience as an individual trait, sort of the things that we have or don't have, or that other people have or don't have. And that may be true, but I think also it can be a community trait, that we can collectively hold resilience, and that way we can lift each other up. So in those times when you don't feel it, you can lean on other people. And if I'm not feeling it this week, I can still be part of a resilient community. And maybe next week it's my turn to hold somebody else up, and that we can hold it together in different ways than we do individually.
Thank you so much, James. I love the phrase bounce forward. I think that's really a powerful way of rethinking that concept. Laura, would you like to go next?
Laura Carpenter. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. I also am zooming in from Dana land. And I am a gender queer lesbian and also the executive director at Identity, which serves lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people across this land, now known as Alaska. And resilience for me, I love all these answers, and I just wrote one sentence and I was thinking about it. And it for me is being able to let our light shine despite all that the world has thrown at us. I think we all have lights that are really valuable. And so being able to shine, not just be, but shine is a great form of resilience.
Thank you. Mahogany, would you like to go next?
I'm gonna steal everything Laura said. No, I'm gonna steal everything everyone else just said ahead of me, because it's all like right on point. That resilience is that ability to recover, right? And it is also not an individual trait; it is a community trait, and how we recover as individuals, but how do we recover together as a community? And then not just, bouncing back, but then like moving forward, right? Because it's like that whole analogy about, giving to others, you can't pour out of an empty cup. Well, honestly, that cup needs to be overflowing, right? Constantly overflowing, so you can give. And so this is one thing to recover and get back to a full cup, but you need to recover and get overflowing with joy. So you can't okay, cool, you got something, you get some, you get some, everybody gets some, we are resilient, call it a good day. That's my definition, I guess.
Thank you. Love the visual of an overflowing cup. That's gorgeous. Well, thank you all for sharing your definitions of resilience. Next, if you could share with us, how you have seen your communities come together in the face of challenges, whether that's the pandemic or other things, and you can define communities however you would like. So we'll start with Cal.
Thanks. Yeah, so again, I loved everything everyone said. That was fantastic. Definitely gave me some new images to think of. So thank you. The bouncing forward, the ray of light, and the overflowing cup. I like that. That was good. And yeah, thinking about yourself. That's great. But yeah, so I mean, I work in behavioral health. I'm a behavioral health case manager. So I feel like, that's something that we've all been, struggling with during this time. And that's something that, we can look at, and we can really measure, like this is something that we need to focus on more. This is something that needs more of our attention. So I'm really, just kind of hoping that, we can continue to rally and help out folks that are struggling. And I've seen it, like the way that we're we've transitioned to Zoom, right? You know, we're offering these alternate options to really reach more people, which wasn't always available before. Like I know my clinic, it was like, no, you had to be in person, but now we have all these other ways, which is great, which has really actually expanded attendance rate for a lot of folks who had barriers before. So I think that's really cool. And just, yeah, the small little, you know, acts are great ways of bringing people together, you know, people rallying and, you know, finding creative out of the box ways to still have that sense of community.
Thanks, Cal. James, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I certainly can resonate with what Cal is saying around, you know, increased mental health challenges through this last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with increased isolation, right? That we have in many ways been cut off from community, or at least community in the forms we were used to. And so we had to figure out how do you connect in new ways? How do we stay connected and reach out to those people who are disconnected? And a lot of that had to do with sort of that virtual shift and making things accessible in new ways. I think we've also seen a lot of things around, you know, new resources and mutual aid and things that maybe have always existed but are brought more to the surface. How do we care for each other when systems aren't set up to care for us properly? And I think there's been some really good creative thinking around that in this last year of figuring out how do we take care of each other when we know that people all need it, and that it's only going to happen if we do it, right? So I think that we've seen some really nice things happen that way. One other thing I thought about this question is sort of how we've seen communities come together. So a big part of what I do with Choosing Our Roots is in sort of the fundraising, grant writing side of things. And I think we've seen funders behave really differently this last year in ways that are kind of exciting. That money is often like money for social services, for queer youth, for mental health supports, things that we know have always been vital needs, have a lot more access to funding right now and a lot quicker access to funding. And that is a model that a lot of people have pushed for a long time. You know, why are we tying up money in these endowments instead of spending it on things that we know are current needs? And that's starting to shift. And I hope that becomes a permanent shift and paying for things that are needs now in ways that are actually meaningful to people on the ground doing the work.
Thank you, James. Laura, would you like to go next?
Yeah, it's interesting. I too was thinking about donors. I also work for a small nonprofit supporting queer youth and social justice. And while we have definitely have some donors with less money, there's some that are still able to give meaningful gifts, and they may be smaller gifts than they've had in the past, but there's also more of them. And it's really neat to see that, and to see some of the donors who have more money giving more money and being a little bit more generous with that donation. And it's very encouraging. And I hope people are able to continue those gifts and that support and connection. And also I get zoomed out a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I have what I call a Zoom headache. Not right now, I've been good today, but I do get them. I get Zoom headaches. So but the silver lining is I've really enjoyed Zooming with people in Bethel and Fairbanks and Soldotna and around the country, but people outside of Alaska, I've had meetings on phones before, but usually it's been either Anchorage or phone. And then like there's this dichotomy of people in a room and people participating elsewhere. And I like the nature of we're all equal on Zoom, and it doesn't matter where you're from. There are some barriers and some connectivity issues, but I really do enjoy having the Zoom with people all around Anchorage, and same with that identity with our like virtual groups. So our transgender group, the Gender Expansive Community of Anchorage, has Anchorage in its name, but now we have people coming in from around Alaska because they don't have to drive into Anchorage, and they can come from all sorts of places. And so yeah, we're thinking, well, what does that mean in the future, and how are we going to work with these groups? So I have seen come together in spite the hardships.
Thank you, Laura. I've also found that so valuable, getting to connect with people around the state. So thank you for sharing. Mahogany, would you like to go next?
Yeah, it's been a different experience for me. This entire pandemic has been different for me than it is for everyone else. And I think I need to like start this conversation off before I go too much deeper into it. And it's different for me for several reasons. One, I am 45 years old. I was medically retired from the Coast Guard in 2012, about 10 years ago. I was like 36. So to be 36 years old and retired is something else. It's like staying at home from, you're sick in the middle school and all your friends are at school. This is the way it's been for me the last like 10 years, right? All my peers are working, got families and all this kinds of stuff or whatever. So I'm like at home all day trying to figure out what I'm gonna do day to day. And then two, I'm a writer. We love isolation. We love solitude. So we flourish in this environment. Thank you for leaving me alone, people. Thank you for no one being around when it's time to go to the grocery store, go here and go there. Right? So those are some things for me. And I also have not, unlike the other panelists, I have not been operating in organizations per se. I've been just working with organizations, but more so in this past year as an MC, entertainer, as an artist, and everything. So for me, in this our world, our community and stuff, for exception for the few things I've been involved with online, which has been, which has been quite a bit. I felt there hasn't been much resiliency community wise. So many people have given up. Like, oh my gosh, they gave up like in the first like month, the first 3 months, more people fall off. Now we hear a year later, man, there's a lot of folks on fall off, organizations, individuals who used to be like out and open, like, man, now you don't see them. And I'm assuming their eyebrows don't grow together or something like that. I don't know. The hair's got too long, whatever. I don't know what it is, but to me, it's just been that way. Like a lot of people have fallen off. Like, and where are you? We need these people. And right. And just because we got to operate in virtual mode don't mean the show stops. And I've been just doing my best, like, keep my foot on the gas pedal and keep doing this and doing that or whatever. But I mean, I existed in virtual mode before this was thing. I've been looking for people joining my parties, my family members, across the nation, jumping on Zoom. I've been looking forward to these days. We've been waiting for like the last 5 years for everyone to get into Zoom. It's just, that's how I feel and how I'm approaching this entire conversation, because it's been more of an individual thing for me and just the people around me in my circle and how we've managed to get through.
Thank you, Mahogany. Dash, would you like to share next?
Yes. So how have you seen communities come together in the face of this pandemic? So for one, I work with like young leaders, specifically with lived experiences of houselessness, and there has been so much. What would you say? Like so much activities, ideas, and just like in this virtual world, like some of our individuals are not able to get on this virtual world because of with technology and things like that. But we've tried to look at different ways of like how to connect with them. If we're mobile, we can go over and drop off some like maybe canvases or maybe some kind of like fidget stuff or even food boxes. Like we would also do that too, just so because they don't have transportation or a way to get to like resources that they would need. We try to meet them where they are at, and for the most part we don't want them going out into the world as the pandemic was pretty big and like still happening at the moment. So like we would go and deliver face masks if we have extras and things like that. So just like supporting them and always checking in. That was a big one for sure that I've seen like our communities come together, was the check-in portion of things. Even though it was virtual, I love hugs. Like I love human interactions, but it's been so hard this whole year, like not to hug anybody when I see them. So yeah, and that was something for me at least. But another thing too, I am also a part of the our Pacific Islander vaccine committee with the Anchorage Health Department. So I've seen a lot of our PI communities come together, regardless if, like, you know, our Hawaiians or Samoans, Tongan, like we came together to figure out, like, being that our Pacific Islander community is like very much what is the word I'm looking for? Like impacted with like COVID, like, you know, with COVID, like we're trying to reach out to them and figure out how can we support them to get access to vaccines, or how do we support them in giving the information of like, hey, this is, you know, this is this, you have a choice, like, you know, that's, you can do that, but this is just information we know, we've done, you know, from experience. This is what I've got the vaccine, I'm getting my second dose, this is my experience from it, it's up to you if you want to get it or not. But you know, we would just like do outreach and stuff like that. So the pandemic has definitely brought together specifically our Pacific Islander community to where we're having conversations outside of the vaccine of what other, you know, challenges or what other issues that we see in our community that we can address as, you know, as leaders, as young leaders, as a group of individuals that have so much passion to do more in the community. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm also, yeah, I'm just ready to go, go, go. But I also, like, I'm trying not to meet people out in public as well. So it's Zoom life for the moment. So yeah.
Thank you, Dash. Our next question kind of, I'm hoping, can kind of get at what a few of you mentioned, which was like sometimes systems failing us, or finding that we aren't as resilient as a community or as individuals, or finding that our peers aren't as resilient as we maybe had hoped we would be. But I'm kind of wondering what lessons you've been learning through this past year that you'll be taking with you down the road. And what is your community doing now that will make it more resilient, or what should your communities be doing that would make you more resilient down the road? We'll start with James.
Okay.
It's a big question.
Yeah. I really appreciate what Dash was just saying. And maybe one thing to sort of build on that and transition into the next answer is I think that there are things that, you know, that sort of have always been true, and that some people have always known are true that have become more visible and more evident through this process that might then lead us to better responses, right? So things like health inequities, so that racial health disparities across different communities, that's not a new thing, but it's gotten more attention, I think, because of COVID, and hopefully that means more response. Right? So like I work for Providence, for the hospital, and I know that our system is looking at racial health equity much more closely and purposefully than I think we were a year ago or 5 years ago. And I hope that other systems are doing the same thing, and that this leads us towards some of those bigger changes that are long overdue. More sort of personally, that I think the biggest lesson I'm taking from this is something that Laura was talking about earlier, about that, you know, as we've shifted towards doing more things virtually, the ways that lets us connect sort of across geography, which in Alaska is so important, right? We have all these communities that we're not going to be able to just, you know, drive to or connect with in those face-to-face ways. But now when we have, you know, a support group or a meeting or any kind of thing that happens on Zoom, people can join us from Bethel. People can join from wherever they are, and it's been so powerful. And I think that really is the biggest thing I want to carry forward from this is when we go back to meeting in person, how do we also make sure we're continuing to include people across the state and to have that bigger sense of community in really meaningful ways. And actually similar to that, even sort of beyond Alaska, one of the other sort of impacts of this, and I would love to hear maybe Mahogany's thoughts on this too, as a performance artist, I think a huge part of queer community is based in the performance arts, and we've lost a lot of that this year. And that's something I know I have personally missed very much, that has been a big part of my sort of sense of queer and trans community throughout my life, is being part of performance communities. And seeing how different performers have handled that, and those who've moved online or those who've done other things, or how people sort of worked with that this year. But I found some people that have really inspired me, even beyond Alaska, like performers I might not get to see in person normally, who are doing things virtually that I now get to sort of attend and participate in, and not only attend, but interact with. Sometimes on Zoom, there's a really different level of interaction with the performer than you'd ever get in sitting in a chair in an audience. And so I've had some really sort of cool performance experiences that way, that I hope that's also a gift we carry forward. Like, I want to go to live shows again, but I also want to keep having that kind of intimate interaction.
Thanks, James. Mahogany, do you want to go next? And I know that you had a virtual show recently through the Performing Arts Center, I think it was, if you wanted to mention that. But
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff. Like, it's nonstop for MC Mahogany Magnetic. It's just, this week is the first time I found like, boom, I slept for like 3 days straight, didn't talk to nobody, didn't walk out the door. It was so nice. I had everything I need. Oh my goodness, it was good times. And I, I've done a lot of stuff virtually, right? And it's adaptability, right? If you, and if we didn't, we wouldn't, it's like you had to be prepared before this even started. You had to be adaptable before this has started. You had to be able to know how to change your game and go with the flow before the pandemic started. Because if you didn't, you was already like late to the party, because there's other people who have, much been far more adaptable to moving into this realm, to this virtual realm, right? Like I said, we've lost a lot of artists and people stopped doing these things. And there's no reason, no excuse as to why things didn't go down. I mean, you still had to, all you had to do was social distancing. I've been seeing the people in the door in Lower 48 in the strip clubs. They all in there, strip clubs, they face masks on or whatever, doing virtual butt naked parties everywhere with face masks on and socially distant. There's just no reason to why we had to stop doing anything other than, jobs, those things to take away. But if we're talking about the artists and stuff, I don't understand. A camera is a camera, right? If you're a performer and you're on stage, you're in front of a camera, what difference does it make if there's a live audience in that camera or not? It should make a difference. When you're on stage, you really don't need to be thinking about who's in the audience. Focus on your performance and stuff. And so if you're on camera, that's why I say it makes no difference to me whether I'm on the stage or I'm on the screen. I'm going to approach it all the same. And I'm going to continue to look for ways. Like, I've had a lot of challenges with my poetry slam, the $100 cash prize poetry slam with the Writer's Block. That event thrives off of human interaction and people and cheering and stuff like this. And it just kind of like, but we did good with the shows that we had, pulling 1,000 views in real time, about 3 or 4 times. So those numbers are still relatively good. We had standing room only, and so it's like 100 people in the building. So reach 1,000, it's all the same. So, but those have been our struggles, but we have not stopped. At least I haven't. And I only know a few people that I've worked with who continue to do stuff, but people really, really just like fell off. And I remember this time last year, everybody and their mama, and I mean literally everybody and their mama, was getting online with their trumpets, dusting off the keyboard they hadn't played in years, doing crafting skills, all kinds of stuff to do in the first like 2 weeks of quarantine. And then it played out. I was like, yeah, I want to see how long this is gonna last. Because once people realized they hadn't like equipped the technology so they can make money, earn money in real time on the internet, like boom, they like just fell off. Like, this DJ thing ain't working out now. So I'm not gonna DJ. I can't have an audience, so I'm not gonna have a show. Anyways, I don't know. There's a whole lot more to resiliency, because you also think about it like, with resiliency, there's some give, right? When you take a tough blow, whatever, how much do you give before you spring back, right? It seems like people like given, receive, and are broken. And it really sucks. And we need these people back. But hopefully they'll be around when this is all over, and they'll be happy-go-lucky once again. And me, I still be doing my thing. It matters not where I'm at. A stage is a stage.
Thanks, Mahogany. Laura, would you like to share next?
I don't know if I want to go after that, but yes, a stage is a stage and adaptability. So I completely agree with Heidi. And also I want to continue the digital programming in some levels for the access and things mentioned before. I think that there is a really good a benefit of having them. It doesn't have to be all the time, and I think a mix is great. And another thing I hope that continues is the reckoning for racial justice that is needed in this country that happened last summer. I do not want that to be just a one-time thing because it's during the pandemic and a lot of people are, no, it says we need to abolish white supremacy for good. We need to fight racism, ableism, colonialism, and so many of the relatives of white supremacy for queer liberation, for liberation of all people. And that can't just stop. I don't want to go back to that normal. I want to continue forward and make sure that that work continues and that spotlight on this need for this work continues. And I think while this may not seem the same sentence, but or same sentiment, I do believe that healing, rest, and self-care are vital to our survival and our own liberation and our own light, as I mentioned before, to shine. And I think that that has become really clear in the pandemic. And I also think that is an act of resistance and resilience to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And I hope that that continues as well.
Thank you, Laura. Dash, would you like to share next?
Yes, I think one thing I would say, well, with the pandemic, like I feel like a lot of people kind of got into their like humanity version of themselves, like being, not being able to see people in person and having to like look at them virtually. Like it kind of, at least for me, it kind of like pulled out like my more humanity, human side of me, to be like, oh my gosh, this is really difficult. This is hard. Like I can't even imagine for other individuals, like at least for the young people that I work with, like being that, yes, they do at some point, like, love to isolate themselves, but like when they don't have the supports or even the transportation to go into services and being able to get even just a shower or even food or a cup of noodle or something, like like they would just shut down. And like it has definitely what's the word I'm looking for, it took a toll for like specifically like my mental health, like, and I know for a lot of young people as well. And like what Mahogany was saying, like your cup of water needs to be overflowing to even, give more. But like the more I give, the more I realize, like reflecting on myself itself, it's like I'm giving everything, but I'm not even, checking in with my own self. So that was a big thing, at least for me, throughout the pandemic. So just that check-in part with your organization, with your peers, with the young people you work with, or even just anybody in general, like if you can't check in person, even just a quick text with your, family, friends, whomever is on your contact list. I challenge you all, like maybe scroll through your contact list and just, send a quick text message to whomever you haven't talked to for like the longest time and be like, hey, just checking in. That's on, on your own, but I challenge everybody to do that, because I'm grateful I have, friends that do that for the most part, because I don't like texting. I love FaceTiming and calling people. So when I get, a quick text of like, hey, just checking in, it keeps me, it keeps me going, it keeps my day going in a way like, oh my gosh, like, somebody actually checked in with me. And ironically, it's like the moment that I need that check-in, so but yeah, I think that's one thing I would definitely do, and like be more intentional and more like, checking in with people more often, regardless of where we stand in our relationship or friendship or whatever the case may be. So
Thanks, Dash. Cal, would you like to share next?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And yeah, I love that, Dash. That's a great thing. I've realized like my energy level is just super low throughout this entire pandemic. I'm sure all of us are like that. So for me, yeah, sometimes I do like, I think of a person, a friend that I haven't spoken to or especially seen in a long time. And then I'll be like, yeah, I miss that person. And I go back to what I'm doing. And then maybe the next day I'll be like, oh, wait, I still miss that person. Why didn't I reach out? And so I have to like give myself some compassion and grace about that. So that's definitely a lesson that I've learned, is giving myself compassion and other people. But also I do make that effort too. Like, even if I'm like, I really don't have anything to talk about with this person, but just like, hey, how you doing? Or just like, hey, I miss you. Like, that is something I'll just do now. Even if like we don't even have a long conversation, even if it's just like, oh, it's good. Yeah, I miss you. How are you? And then, and then we talk about like maybe one or two things, and then we go on like that. At least, we are reaching out to each other and using our energy that we have. But yeah, definitely compassion for myself, self-care. There's a question in the chat from Liz that says, how are you filling that cup to overflowing, and what daily habits or things help keep up resilience? That's a great question. And for me, that's, yeah, also the lesson is focusing on that, focusing on, taking care of myself so I can have the energy to maybe help others. And yeah, that's one thing I did like, about the working from home aspect, is that I can roll out of bed and do some yoga for 30 minutes and not have to worry about smelling or anything. So I don't need the shower. So I can just hop on the computer, and be ready to work. So that was super nice. Take some extra time to meditate, make myself snacks and dinner. Like, that's the super great thing about, yeah, self-care during this time. And that's like definitely kept me like my floating, treading, right, head above water, is doing those things for myself. But yeah, also, like I said, reaching out as much as I can in the small ways that we can, and just realizing, we're all having a rough time. Like, I think that's a pretty universal truth. We all have different levels, of course, different levels of struggles with this pandemic, but just, yeah, having that grace for everyone. And I think that's, maybe I'm hoping we can keep that moving forward. I mean, that'd be nice.
Thank you, Cal. So Cal, you answered a little bit of Liz's question, but I wanted to open it up to any of the other panelists who might want to add in some of their answers. And so Liz's question was, how are you filling that cup to overflowing? What daily habits or things help keep up that resilience? And you can just popcorn it if you want.
Yeah, I'm glad Cal brought up yoga. That's definitely been something I picked up here in the last 6 months daily, and then I practice Kung Fu regularly. And and when I practice Kung Fu, I go outside. I'm always by myself, except for Sundays when we have class. But that was always a social distancing type of class setting anyway. Just a few of us out there, and we all like got to be a distance away so we can practice our little moves and stuff. Writing is always one of the things that keeps me in line for my self-care. Yeah, and then reaching out to others, right? I've enjoyed this time, and I'm kind of upset though. This is what I'm saying, that I've had a lot more conversations and phone conversations and FaceTime with my mom than ever before. She's in Atlanta, Georgia. but she's a teacher, and they just went back to teaching in the classrooms partially about a month ago. So I haven't talked to my mom like in a minute. I'm like, man, that really sucks. She got to go back to work. But as I'm saying, I'm afraid everybody got to go back to work anyway. I'm still stuck here. So those are things. One of the things that I did early on was like kind of like rearrange my apartment. So I kept, keep the living room space open. So I had plenty of space for yoga, kung fu, sleeping on the floor. And then in my little studio space, I got more lights and cameras and stuff like this, so I can do more virtual shows and be present. And I felt like if that was one thing that I could do for the community, I had to continue to do that, and provide like not just entertainment, but poetry, love, compassion, and sharing things through community and conversations as best as we can. And when I've emceed events, I've asked people like, if they can, turn on your screens, right? Because this is the closest we're ever going to get to one another. And then if you on this, you're in a panel discussion, you seeing more, blacked out names and stuff like this, it makes you feel a certain kind of way. Like, is anyone paying attention to anything I'm saying? I left a group, a confidential group back in the summer just because of this. Like, man, I got some stuff on my heart really to say, and like no one's paying me attention. I'm out of here, right? And as a performer, and you all have experienced this, it's like, well, this is the crowd that we have, but to see things are blank, it's one thing to see, someone, in their house laying in their bed. At least you see them, they're doing something. But when other people are off, you don't know what they're doing. But it helps because this is all we have to be closer together apart. So it will help. So like, unless you're just like, I don't know what reason you would have or whatever to have your camera off, unless you got children running wild or whatever, or you got naked family members in the house. That happens. Other than that, like, let's see each other. Let's enjoy what we have and make the best of what we have. So yeah, those things, all kinds of stuff. Cooking is a big one that you can do. People have been doing knitting. People have gotten animals. A lot of animals have been like, rescued from the shelters and stuff. So yeah.
Thanks, Mahogany. Did any of our other panelists want to share some of the things that you're doing to fill your cup?
I've been going on walks in my neighborhood, and so I live near Russian Jack Park, and that's where I run. So I normally just go straight to the trails. But in pandemic, I've been walking around and seeing all the cute little homes, and it's a nice little neighborhood, and it doesn't have sidewalks, so I haven't like always walked a lot in there. But that's been really nice. Also yoga, also playing queer Harry Potter. I say because the author of Harry Potter, who shall not be named, is on the naughty list. But yeah, my daughter and I like to play together a lot, and she fills my bucket, and hanging out with my family and losing to LOL Monopoly, which is a lot of fun to lose to. Actually, it's better than real Monopoly. What is queer Harry Potter? Well, this is just between us, but we've invented characters. It's like live fan fiction. So I play Maury, who is Professor McGonagall's trans daughter. And my daughter plays Issa, who's Draco Malfoy's older sister, and they're best friends. And sometimes, I don't know if y'all knew this, but Snape's daughter and Cho end up together. You didn't even know he had a daughter. Well, he does in our world. So it's a lot of fun.
Thank you for sharing, Laura. It sounds super juicy. I would read that fanfic. Did any of our other panelists want to share? No pressure, but if you wanted to share, jump on in.
I'll jump in. I sometimes have a hard time with the self-care sort of question, in part because as a parent and like with pandemic parenting and all the other things that my life is full of, there often isn't time to add another thing. Like walks sound great, but when do you take a walk, right? Like, and that can become its own stress. So I really like to think about self-care in terms of habits of mind, as well as sort of the things we actually do with our time, because those are things you can do all the time. So like I really try to focus on gratitude, to notice when I'm feeling thankful for something and like be in that feeling and make sure that I do, like even if it's just sort of taking a moment to be like, oh, the mountains look amazing today. I am so grateful I get to live here and see that right now. Right, well, while I'm driving from home to work, or whatever it is, but to really notice gratitude and express it. And I think one of the other sort of daily habits that is helpful for me is being conscious of what stories am I telling myself about my life and about the world and about my ability to impact that world. And that, like, you can have the exact same kind of day and describe it one way and feel terrible about it, describe it a different way and feel like, some hard things happened, but I made a difference, right? And so like, what is the story that I tell myself at the end of the day? And being really conscious of that, because we ultimately are in control of our own stories and of what our lives and our time means in the world. I don't always have time to do the things I want to do, but I always have time to think the way I want to think.
Thank you, James. Dash, did you want to share too?
Yeah, so one thing for sure, I'm terrible at self-care too. But the biggest thing that would basically like fill my cup of water is honestly the work that I do. Just like I'm just super passionate about it, that every time I get to have conversations with a young person and I see them growing and learning all these skills and things that and just reach their dream job, or just doing what they want to do and doing it wholeheartedly, that's success for me. I'm like, okay, I did my job. It fills me, it makes me happy. I'm like, okay, now who's next? Like who's next? Who can I pass on my skills and my and like having them like learning from them and teaching them all in one is like with advocacy work. It's definitely something. But yeah, that's like the biggest thing for me. And when I take vacations like is my self-care, and I can't do the whole stay at home kind vacation. Like I have to be outside of Alaska to even call it a vacation. So yeah, with the pandemic not possible, at least I'm trying not to. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Dash. So we'll go into our last question that I have. So if any of our audience members think of other questions that they'd like to ask, just pop those into the chat. So I was wondering if you could each share if there are ways that the folks that are here can either support the work that you are doing or support your community in some way. How might they do that? Oh, sorry. And Laura, would you like to go first?
Well, first, I would say if you are a white-bodied person, start battling the white supremacy inside yourself. And if you are a cis or straight person, start educating yourself and figuring out how to be an ally. And that is personal work. I know battling white supremacy seems like world peace, this gigantic thing that can't ever happen. And to be honest, it probably won't happen. We probably won't end racism in our own lifetime, but that work can start happening right now. You can start healing the trauma in your body, healing and working with others and learning and educating. That can happen right now. So that's maybe not a super specific, but it is something that you can take on your own path. And then for identity for my work, next week on March 31st is Transgender Day of Visibility. And on Saturday, we have an event that I invite you to come to and hear stories and celebrate the transgender community of Alaska. And Identity also has Pride in June. And so that is something to participate and celebrate the queer community with. and we're opening a clinic next month. Actually, in less than 2 weeks, we will start seeing patients on a limited basis, offering gender affirming care. And we're going to have an open house at the end of April that you all are invited to. And if you know people who need gender affirming care and queer affirming healthcare, send them our way.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Laura. If there's a spot that we can find details about those events, if you want to stick those in the chat, that would be great. And I can also send that out into an email to everybody at the end. Sorry, I clicked away. Mahogany, do you want to share next?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have my phone number to give out, but I was thinking it should be like, you know, how you can support me. It's just like call 180 magnetic, right? Because it can't be 1-800 magnetic because magnetic has 8 letters. So we gotta take that 0 out. So it'd be call 180 magnetic, and tell her, anything that's on your nasty little mind. It's like, yo, Mo, what's going on? Da da da. If you want to talk, chop it up. I don't know, but more so not for me, honestly. It's like, how can I be of more service to the community, right? Is the question I keep asking myself. Because I also keep this in mind that, yeah, boom, you know what I'm saying? We got a lot of people vaccinated now and we're moving forward, but we're still in this thing, right? And even though we're gonna get to a point here where, Alaskans, we might be really safe, but our loved ones around the world are not. Right. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing that I remember thinking last year when I first heard, like, oh, how long this pandemic is going to last. And the first thing that I heard was 18 months. Right. And then when I look at the history of it, the Spanish flu was from 1919 to 1922, 23. It wasn't until it was over. So I'm still like, yeah, this is cool. We're a year in, but we still have a ways to go. And it's still going to require more work of me in the future. And what that is, I don't know. I don't know until people call me like, yo, Mo, we need Wonder Woman here. And they're like, okay, fine. Let me suit up. Let me get my bangles. I'm ready to go. Let's go do the darn thing. So yeah, it's not really about like me. My self-care routine is good. I enjoy my life sitting here in my own house. So however I can be of better service and help to the community, I will. But I must say, I'm only showing up for poetry, and I'm only showing up for young people, 25 and under, people who haven't experienced a full quarter of a century of life. I am done, hanging out with old people. You know what I'm saying? When I say old people, that's 25 and above, everybody who think they grown, right? I'm over that. And so I just want to be here as much as I can to continue to encourage the youth. And anybody 25 up, it better be some poetry involved. I really, really don't want to be around, But those are some boundaries I had to set for myself to keep me from doing everything like I can easily do. So yeah, how I can be of more service to the community would be my question.
Thanks, Mahogany. And I feel very honored that you're here because I'm pretty sure most of us are over 25. So thank you for taking the time to join us. I did want to ask, I know you've been busy with some like performances and other virtual events. Is there a spot where we can find those if there are recordings or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I need to just like take those things. I need to, just like I had to update my resume, but I need to update my website, right? To have those things in one place. And I don't know how I can do it on social media other than a post. Oh, you know what? I can make it like a playlist. Yes, I can make a playlist. Oh my gosh, Magnetic's greatest hits of 2020. Yeah, for sure. So I can do a playlist, and then that way I can put the Kennedy Center performance in there, the BAM curating the art show. I can throw in the choreo poem in the Black History Month event and lecture and stuff. Even my Wonder Woman lecture I gave last May. So yeah, I can create a playlist. Oh my goodness, that'd be cool. And that'd be a way like, okay, one stop, here you go. Because that's the cool thing too about this virtual thing. Before, a show, you miss it, right? Now it's like there. You can go back and check it anytime you want. So, okay, I can do that. I could
That'd
do
be
that.
awesome. We'll send that out once we get
Okay.
that. Thank you. Dash.
So I'm kind of like on the same boat as Mahogany as well. I'm glad I'm under the 25 and over over spectrum, so I can definitely hang with you. And I do want to shout out Mahogany as well, because I have a lot of our young people that has been working with her on poetry and a lot of other like learning from Mahogany. So I just want to shout you out for sure, because you are amazing. And yeah, I mean, I do have, so one thing, I guess, a plug, I do have a business. It's called Dash Designs. I've been trying to work on my website and things like that, but yeah, I'm slowly getting there. But so everything has been like through Facebook. I haven't posted. Because I just moved, so I'm trying to get back into business mode. But it's mostly like I do a lot of like Samoan tribal art creations and crafting craft stuff. So it's like t-shirts, canvases. So you can definitely check me out on my personal Facebook page, because I don't have my business page up yet. So that's a plug on my end. And however I can help, honestly, like with any either facilitating conversations with our young people, or also just creating activities with your organizations or programs, or even just program planning. Like I have a group of young people that are super eager to learn, not only in the social media area of things, but also like outreach and all that fun stuff in this virtual world, and then eventually in like the real world of like physically having people over and things like that. So however I can help, most definitely just shoot me an email or a message. Hopefully y'all have my contact, or I can share that too, either or. But I appreciate you all taking your time to be on this call for sure.
Thanks, Dash. Yeah, if you just want to share your contact in the chat, that'll be great. Cal, do you want to share next?
Sure. Yeah, I was just thinking of being able to respond to Mahogany. It's like, Mahogany, how you gonna do me like that? I'm 27. I'm too old to hang out, and then we can't have the Justice League, Wonder Woman and Superman. So how's that gonna work? That we've been talking about forever.
No, it works all the same. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to being a part of organization and movements and events and activities and stuff like this, I'm really just done with the grown folk stuff, because it's just now I'm pushing on 10 years since I've been here in Anchorage, and before COVID and after COVID, it's the same. Some of the same things I keep running into, and a lot of, we get to a certain age in our life. I guess I don't know what it is, but we lose like sight of the younger people. We lose sight of the elders. We lose sight of our physically disabled people in our communities, and I'm tired of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm so happy other people are picking up a conversation on race. There's less I have to say about that. Good. That opens the space. Let me talk about something else. Here's some other issues that we need to talk about too, and that's why a lot of times when I stand up and I'm on panels and everything, I like to say something different. Like, I don't need to say all that's been said. If everyone's posting about, those 6 murdered Asian women last week, then you don't need me no more. Cool, go and have a good conversation about it. But so that's what I'm saying. So when it comes to the 25 and up, what I'm just really the grown folks stuff. So yeah, whatever, so I just want to be here, like uplift the kids, help the elders out, the people who really need the help the most. Like, 25, you'll figure it out on your own. Like, but that don't mean we still can't kick it, we Justice League forever.
All right, cool. But actually what I was thinking when you were saying that, like it just made me think about how, like, when you do get above 25, not everyone, but for the most part, we do get very closed off, set in our ways and like less open, to new thoughts, new ideas, educating ourselves. It's like we just kind of, give up and just go with the flow. So I think that is really, really hard. And that's what's great about the youth, right? Is that they have all that, their minds are sponges and they're ready to learn and grow and change the world. And that's awesome. So we definitely need to support that. I agree 100%. So that's why I like supporting Choosing Our Roots is a great way that folks can help out. Identity as well. They also have lots of great youth groups. So yeah, I would say support the youth and try to make the world a better place for them, and you can do that in lots of small ways. Like I have a friend who just made a random post today about, just want to show support for all my LGBTQ plus friends. I'm always here if you need me. That was just like kind of out of nowhere, but it was just a nice little, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And it also is kind of like not out of nowhere. I mean, there's a lot of good things that are happening, right? Like with Rachel Levine getting her nomination, and she's the first transgender woman, to be confirmed by the federal government. That's huge. So, but with that, like, there's also the negative aspect, which is a lot of like people calling her slurs, right? And like the opposition, which again, and we're also trying to get the Equality Act passed, to expand so that I'm sure I'm bad at wording this, but to make it so you can't discriminate for gender identity and sexual orientation. So we're trying to get that, federally. And then, so, if that does go through, hopefully, it does, but then there's also still like, you got to look at the backslide that happens, right? The people on the opposition who will come out and try and be super hateful. So yeah, we might actually really need that support coming up soon here, so whatever way you can, we appreciate it, whether that's, putting your pronouns in your emails to help, non-binary folks feel more comfortable, or having a little, trans flag or, pride flag, rainbow flag, like in your office, or just making sure that people know that you're a safe space is helpful, I feel like. And yeah, being an ally, like Laura said, and doing your own work to try and educate yourself. Like, I think there's going to be a list of resources that were developed that people can use to, read some books, listen to podcasts, and yeah, just kind of listen to more queer voices. So yeah, that was kind of a long rant, but yeah. And thanks everyone for joining here and being here tonight and listening.
Thanks, Cal. That was a great segue. I'll put our list of resources in the chat. It's just a Google Doc, and it links a bunch of articles and podcasts and books that you can check out. And so, James, do you want to share as well? And if you want to share a little bit about Choosing Our Roots work too, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, there's been so many good answers to this already. So I concur with all of those, and we'll add a little bit more about Choosing Our Roots. So CORE is it's a nonprofit that works with LGBTQ plus youth who experience homelessness through not all of Alaska yet, but through many regions of Alaska. And so we define youth as 13 to 24. We are a youth-led organization. We have some really amazing youth leaders, as well as the youth who receive services from CORE. And they are sometimes the same people and sometimes not, but it's a pretty inspiring group to be part of. So I would encourage anybody who's looking for a way to get involved and to be of service. There are lots of different ways that you can work with CORE. If you are somebody who's excited to be a host and take a young person into your home, was something we always need. We also need people who want to be mentors and work with the youth and sort of build relationship over time to be someone they can count on when they have questions or concerns or just need someone to call and talk something through with. Or if you have a specific skill that you want to teach, and maybe it's a one-time thing where you come and lead a group and share, if you're a yoga teacher, or if you want to teach, financial management skills, like whatever the thing is that's sort of your gift that you want to share with young people. We always need people to do that sort of thing. Maybe you want to do behind the scenes stuff and be on the board or a committee because you're more comfortable in that zone. That's okay too. But there's lots of ways to serve. And I would say, whether or not you choose to do any of those things, one of the things that CORE is also really about is community. That yes, there are some very specific direct services we offer, but we're also really focused on building healthy, strong, multi-generational queer communities that are not based in bar culture. Communities where sobriety at gathering is normative, which it's often not in queer communities, and where we can get together as people of all different ages and connect in meaningful ways. And that's something that I think has been really powerful, both for the young people involved and for the older people like myself who are involved. That it's been really transformative. And honestly, one of the things that gives me hope and helps me sort of stay resilient is this work that I get to do alongside young people. So whether or not you're interested in volunteering, show up for one of our Friday night community chats, or just sort of be part of community. And it's a way that you can help other people just by showing up and also get something meaningful back from it. And I will put a link in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James, and to all of our panelists. If there's anything else that any of you would like to share, please feel free to jump in now. And if anyone who is tuning in has any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat.
Can I share a spoken word poem?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it was faster to ask than it was to type it. So
we would be honored.
Okay. Oh yeah. Because this one's about resiliency. So while shopping for berries in the produce section, a Facebook friend came with a very sincere confession. I kid you not. I tell you no lie, Mahogany. Ever since I've been following you, I got a new house and a color TV. Everyone loves the way I get down. Thanks to you, I'm now the spice around town. Well, there's no reason to thank me, but that's true. And you must believe in something. Why not believe in you? I may be shining, but it ain't all about me. Enjoy your new house and color TV. While you at it, you might as well download my new movie. But for now, you stand in front of bananas I need for my smoothies. Now, I like to play and go full throttle, but I must accept myself as a role model. I can do a lot of things. I can get on the mic and make your body swing, but I wouldn't be a friend at all if I didn't tell you to stand tall in the face of adversity, love others and accept diversity. We're all different and strange, with folks calling us out of our names, saying things that hurt, that's just not so. Have you feeling all down, blue, sad, and low? That's why you speak your voice so they can hear the sound of your frown turning upside down. All cheers for you, the people's champ. Put it in the envelope, seal it with a stamp, with a letter that reads, I am somebody and I deserve respect. I may be young, but don't forget, I have a right to be happy, weird, nerdy, athletic, introverted, or sassy. As far as I can tell, crack is whack as hell, meth is straight up death, and Spice and Molly are just so lost. And I want to grow up to be the boss of a Fortune 500 or maybe a small bakery, but I like science, so maybe archaeology. Just question the truth, children. You can be whatever you want to be. Me, I prefer to be a Wonder Woman. When I'm held back, I just keep on coming till I arrive at my goals. Who you become, no one else knows. Really, it's your choice. It's your life. Just don't condone the bullying and strife. Try writing your dreams on paper. Dust your shoulders off to dismiss the haters. Practice your skateboard or hula hoop. Have a salad, maybe some soup. Take a break from fast food so you can be stronger in better moods. And remember, even if you don't go to college, no one can ever take away your knowledge. Well, I guess I said enough. I wish you all the best growing up. So yeah, hugs not drugs, be cool, stay in school. You don't need riches when you have wealth. And above all, just be yourself. I thought that was a good piece to fit the evening.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Mahogany. Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So, Cal, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I did, because I realized that there's an event tomorrow night, if folks want to join that, that I believe Native Student Services from UAA is helping to sponsor. And then, so I think Mahogany's going to be there, right? Maybe Lillian Lennon, Dr. Tracy Weiss. So that would be a really cool event if folks want to check that out tomorrow. I think maybe I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I'm not on that one. I'm hanging out with Fairbanks people tomorrow.
Okay, you're just like usually in everything, so I guess I just assumed.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't assume, because there's some place I don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? And if someone calls me first and I'm already booked, you know, and I don't be double booking, even in virtual mode. I don't do that. So
Yeah, the event tomorrow is being hosted by the NAACP of Fairbanks. They've been putting on
Yeah.
some really, really amazing programming. So I would definitely recommend checking them out. And you can still register to attend tomorrow's event. So that'll be a really cool one. I know I've already registered. I registered weeks ago because I was like so excited about it. So
Yeah, Laura needs to show up on that one because it's going to be a serious conversation about racial injustice.
yeah, and I will find the link and I will actually, so I've got everybody's email addresses because you all registered for the Zoom. So I will send out the link later tonight so that you all have it and you can register for
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, of course. Happy to. Awesome. Well, thank you again to everyone who is here tonight. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day, especially if you were on Zoom all day to come and join in on their Zoom in the evening. We really appreciate that. And thank you again to our panelists. I just really appreciate you all taking the time to come and share your experiences, to be vulnerable together. So thank you for being here. Next Wednesday, we're also going to be having a little reflection session. So if anyone who is here would like to come and just chat about what resilience means to you, to form a little bit of a community and get to know each other a little bit better, you're welcome to come. I will include that link in the email that I send out as well. Let me see. I think that is all of my notes. And then, yeah, I'll include that resource list in the email as well. So thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it. This program is recorded. So we'll figure out a way to get that recording out to you all so that you can share it with anyone who wasn't able to make it as well. So thank you again for being here and I hope you have a great night.